That's it. Much better.
Everything is gonna be alright.
Let's go, man.
The phony thing? I sent that because I'm pretty sure he didn't mean to send it to me. Or he was like, trying to play some mind games.
He didn't mean to send it to you?
Well, he said like, yo, develop a plan for Thunderwatch in case they don't perform on what like, not even talking about us. That's why I sent it.
No, he's talking about us, but to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's directed towards you, like.
Yes, that's
okay.
it.
Yeah, we really don't have like all the.
We want all the smoke, bro. I don't give a fuck.
We want literally blood today.
But
All the pressure's on them and off on us now.
Right, right.
You want to keep that impression though too. That's a good thing. You don't want people that think you're gonna leave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be on that tech time.
You have it.
I think they're splitting like 2-2 by the way. It's like 2 matches and then.
Yeah. 2-2-2-2.
Isn't it 2-2-1-1-1 with that?
I don't know. I know it's definitely 2-2. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it just goes in twos, boys. The whole time. 2-2, 2-2, 2-2. So it ends. Edge first.
Start on.
I got some bad guys here.
Automatic is so bad, bro. What a bad weapon. Fucking hate that gun.
Why? Why do you think it's bad?
Cause I gotta fucking prime it and smack it around before it shoots, you know? It's like the thing that Genie comes out of, man. Just shoot. Stupid ass gun.
Tripods, baby. Yeah.
Alright, I'm coming.
You have
Are you
9
in the
minutes.
lobby already or what?
Yeah, you
I'm
have time.
booting up over there now. I'm feeling so good. I have never. I can't believe that setting, bro. I'm trolling. I'm just trolling. Fuck. God, I'm an idiot.
Let's go, bruh.
He's off the energy drink today, bro. He's in his bag. I
It's
can
my
tell.
first one in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. I love it. Make sure you drink water. All you gotta do is just drink agua like alongside it, and then you're chilling. You won't have those aches. You gotta drink. You gotta make sure you're eating food too. Did you eat anything today?
Yeah, I had breakfast.
What?
I ate breakfast, and then pizza's coming in like half an hour.
Beautiful. Make sure you drink water though, okay?
Yeah, I've been.
Drink
I
more
already drank 2
water.
bottles.
Good for your bladder.
I already had 2 bottles. That's like a record.
You eat
Got to have a little
mid-30?
pee. Have a little pee.
Is that the cucumber one?
Yeah.
Here, I-
Cucumber.
Bro, it's so true though. That motherfucker's
No,
spitting.
Yeah.
People need to
The
drink more
cucumber
water. Yeah, you need to drink. Oh yeah, gee, you and me watch that shit. Drink more water. Good for your bladder. You got to have a little pee. Have a little pee.
You remember the paths for both PLIs, right?
The what?
The paths, like when you guys are landing.
I do. Yep.
Okay, making sure no one's like confused.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
But we probably should. I'm down for you to pull it up on your screen, and then when Deets gets
Yeah.
back, we'll just hit it real quick. Don't use names though.
Yeah, I got
just
you.
yeah.
Right.
People are gonna be tuned in and shit. So.
Yep. Already, yeah.
For that action. And I think when you look down at what we mentioned in EMEA earlier, you have day 8, day 7, all the way up until 9, where these teams are competing in separate groups. This is group. This is all the people who have performed amongst the trials of the entire pro.
Get it.
So if you can get it done in this lobby, well, that means you could get it done anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you look through this lobby right now, and to put it into perspective, FaZe just made it in. And you look at the names that are on this FaZe lineup, and that's everything you need to know. And then you've got the other end of the table, right? You've got TSM, who have been unbelievable. You've got the newly signed X-Set lineup as well. Sykes, Nocturnal, and Fun finding a new home to play for today, and certainly do them proud. And then you've got teams like the Guard, you've got Space Station, and then you've got the Chasing Pack. Like you mentioned, Dark Zero trying to make something magical happen. Complexity trying to force one of those playoff spots, and you've got the teams holding on like NRG. This lobby is the best of the best in North America. It is going to be an amazing day of action.
When you look at how this all worked out coming into the season, and the season now regional finals for North America, we were surprised, Dan, at some of the teams that were not in this top 9. Dark Zero, obviously, G2 made that very clear. They weren't picking it up, but maybe most noticeably, Dan,
Put this thing one tiny. Yeah.
Both of these teams at the moment are tied in ninth position with 81 points. Joint 81 points. Nothing to separate them. Now, you look at NRG season. Halfway through the split, you were like, what on earth's going on with NRG? They're not going to qualify. They're going to be nowhere near those LAN performances. But it was one Game 6 win on World's Edge that kind of turned their season around completely. And since then, they've started to look like the NRG of old. For HEC, it's been all about consistency. Consistent placement, consistent placement, consistent placement has put them in this position. The only worry for them is they have one of the lowest kills per game in the lobby. And with such an aggressive lobby now with no weak links, it's going to be tough for them to pick up the points they need. You put ESA, Complexity, MPS, DZ all behind them. There's only 21 points separating 9th place and 17th. Dan, who have you got, my friend?
Well, I think it's tough if we don't talk about Optic Gaming, a team who are in 15th place today. They are outside of the playoff spots, and it wouldn't be a LAN without Optic, would it? Well, I will say they do still have a chance, both via points and, of course, by the fact it is match point format. This is a team that's been gaining momentum in recent weeks. I'm sure a lot of you remember that incredible duplex play. Here it is, right on your screen, when he was able to rat out as a solo and then go on to actually win that game. That is going to be a confidence and momentum builder for this Optic roster, who are going to need to have a big day. If it is not a high points total, a second or third, it's going to have to be a match point victory. But they have found wins throughout the season, and I'm confident they could do it here today, Rain Day.
When it comes to Optic, there isn't a measure of figuring out if they've got the talent or the skill. It's just the form. And there isn't a more high elevated team that has the talent and skill but has been out of form than Dark Zero. They are proven match point winners, not just once this year, but twice. No other team can say that, and yet they find themselves in 13th place. Day 8 was a chance for them to make things easy today, and it was their worst finish overall, earning just 3 points, coming in 17th place in a 20-team lobby. If they do not win today, I don't think that they're going to land, which would be insane to kick off the new year with the defending back-to-back LAN champions not even being there. If you're a Dark Zero fan, it's win or go home in my eyes. Well, incredible teams to highlight. And if you want more storylines and you maybe are following along with the watch party, know a few people, Girl, Nice Way, they're doing some watch parties as well. Find your friends. You can also do your own watch party and check out Multiview. That's right. You have an opportunity to go into the command center on Twitch and pick out your favorite perspectives of people to allow you to look at every rotation from the eyes and ears of the players. Hear their team comms, see what they see how they take a fight, and see how the storylines that you care about collide in-game in real time. It's one of the best things I think that's happened to the ALGS, and we're excited to bring it back here for another match point regional final. Multiview, ALGS, your way. Every day we like to talk a lot about the ALGS and what we can bring to the table. And of course, that leads us to our What's in Your Pack presented by WD Black, a segment that we highlight a very important machination, ability, moment in the ALGS that can turn the tides. And today, it's a weapon, Mark, that means quite a lot when you get it. You called it the Silent Assassin. It's the Bocek bow.
It is indeed the Bocek, another care package weapon that you're going to see players, I'm sure, using today. And a little bit like the RE45. When we saw a little rotation in care package weapons, everyone's like, oh, RE45, oh, the Bocek's in there. Because they hadn't been like the most popular, devastating weapons that you could find. But I tell you what, players have started to realize that just because it may not be great on ground loot when it was there, once it's in the care package and once it has that little buff, it really can do a lot of damage to people in the lobbies. And like you mentioned, it almost has this silent effect to it, right? You can kind of make out when someone's firing a Bocek across the map, but you can't really tell the direction it's coming from a lot of the time. You don't really see that trail of bullets like you do from other guns, so you can get up on height, much like Enemigo is here, and really do some big damage to teams trying to cross.
Question is, are you Hawkeye? Are you the Green Arrow? Are you Legolas or maybe Katniss Everdeen? Lots of famous bow users in movies and TV history, but maybe you with the Bocek can make the difference here in ALGS history.
Make sure that you watch along to see all of our items that we highlight here, and that will be something on display for the rest of this afternoon. That's been What's in Your Pack, presented by WD Black. All right, heading into today, there is a difference in so many ways. We have a lobby full of winners, lobby full of the best performing teams. We have a match that is going to continue going on until someone passes 50 points in the threshold and then wins the very next game. So if that game allows you to get to 50, it doesn't mean that you're going to win. You got to win the game after that. That's what makes this so challenging, why early points are so important. But it's also why maps are so important. And we make a big change, a little change that has a big impact in these days. We do 2 maps at a time. Then we go back and forth so that if you maybe get your rhythm on match 2 in World's Edge, you get 48 points like we saw earlier with Aurora, you go to Storm Point. You got to do it again. In that game 3 in EMEA, they actually didn't get any points because of the switch up and needed to warm up, and they opened up the door for other teams to be successful. So that's the challenge, Dan, and I'll leave this to you. It's not just doing it well in 2 games, it's being able to do it in that 3rd game and keep the consistency across these fast switches.
Which is something a lot of teams have struggled to actually do throughout the entire season, is have consistency across both maps. We see some of the biggest and best teams being far better on one map rather than the other. It might not always be the one you expect. For example, TSM have been far better on Storm Point than World's Edge when it comes to consistency and getting victories from top 5s, but there are other teams who will be far more comfortable when it comes to World's Edge. But something we did learn throughout EMEA is teams who had never even found a victory on certain maps were able to find victories today. So even though the stats are there for the regular season, things change a little bit when it comes to match point. Teams start playing a little bit differently, and sometimes that can create different openings.
You know, Mark, I saw a battle at the top in EMEA. It looked like we had 3 teams already qualified going at it. I want to look at the regular season standings here, and I want to get your perspective, your kind of opinion on what's in store for today. TSM and XZ have been battling for a long time for supremacy of North America. Who's really the best team? It's been a resurgence, a renaissance of TSM, but it's been really strong performances from XZ. Looking at these teams, what do you think the battle's going to look like on the high-end front?
It's tough to say, right? The thing we have to keep in mind here is this is a combination of all 3 lobbies. This is the best teams from all of the lobbies that we have seen. That means the fights that you take, the isolated 3v3s, might be a little bit tougher. It means that your rotations might be a little bit tougher. It might mean holding down that end game spot that may have felt quite comfortable in, let's say, an A versus C group, but all of a sudden going to feel not so comfortable. So for someone like TSM and XZ, it's all about adjustments and making sure you're making the right decisions in end game. And for me, I tweeted at How after the performance that they had in game day 9, where they won the lobby, and some of the end game calls that How were making were perfect Apex. Like it was the best I've seen TSM look in quite some time. But then you have the added fire for XZ, just being picked up by a new org. They want to do them proud. They want to represent and bring home a win. So there's going to be a wonderful battle going on between those 2, I'm sure, for the entirety of the day.
I just have to keep bringing up the importance of getting a good start here, fellas. It's not about having this kind of great game and then disappearing. We've seen that be so demoralizing for teams who get close to match point or even get on match point, and then it's like they lose their rhythm. They become a different team because they start playing differently, Dan, and that can be sometimes your Achilles heel if you don't just stay with what's working for you.
Yeah, I called it match point syndrome earlier on in the EMEA broadcast, and it does happen to the best of us, unfortunately. And it's just a case of people maybe trying to adjust their composition or trying to play a slightly different strategy that isn't necessarily familiar to them. So they're out of their comfort zone a little bit. And also, you get targeted quite a lot when you are on match point, especially if your composition is a known one to the rest of the lobby and you're playing a particular legend. It's very easy for me to sit here and say, well, I want people to play the same way they do when they get to match point, but it's impossible because that's not how the human brain works. When there's this much pressure on the line, when there's money on the line, when there's the chance to go to LAN, suddenly that is going to change your thought process and that is going to change how you decide to make certain moves around the map. But that's what makes all this such a joy and a pleasure to watch, because we get to see how these IGLs react to those moments. We get to see how these players actually react to those pressure situations, and today is going to create a lot of them, that's for sure.
I have a question around these, not middle of the Packers, but when we talk about TSM and we talk about, XZ right now, 2 teams that have performed incredibly well. They kind of stand above the rest, already going to LAN. But then you get down just a little bit. You go into LG, who have had a wonderful season, who have one of the best, I think, absolute just annihilators on controller, Yanya, a young kind of 18-year-old prodigy in that way as well. And you look at SSG, who, when you look at Drops and Island Frex, have put up good numbers and consistency to be included in this conversation of they should be on the tip of our tongues for who could win today. Mark, is there a reason why maybe, we still have something to prove on that end, or do you feel like this is the moment that they get to prove and say, hey, yeah, we are at that level?
I mean, for LG, for Luminosity, I think this has been the season where they've broken out from the pack a little bit. And I think their maturity and the way they have matured through the season is something that a lot of people could take inspiration from, right? They have just been so consistent week after week. They won 1 week of the match days, and they looked really, really strong doing so. SSG for me as well. They're up in 5th place, right? They look great, but it always comes down to moments with the SSG. They get to top 5s, but then the win conversion rate just doesn't seem to be there. Is it a lack of firepower? Is it a lack of wanting to take a risk that's going to guarantee you the win? Who knows? We're going to have to find out how SSG played today.
And you certainly believe that no matter what the circumstances, whether fire or ice, a star will be born in North America. Let's find out who takes control and who takes first place. It's match point, baby. And to send it over to my favorites, Onset and Gasket.
Let's get it, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You can see that the dropship has already been busy, and TSM fans, smile on your face already. Lava Siphon looks like we're going here, Dan. And if you wanted to start off hot, that is the perfect spot for you to drop. I'm just looking across some of these drop spots at the moment, and very interesting to see Dark Zero dropping over at the Dome. They will have the beacon, but as we know, Dome is not one of the best POIs for loot that you can have.
Yeah, it seems like that decision has been made to maybe avoid another team, or perhaps they've had success in scrims. We'll have to see how that plays out. But TSM, you said about Lava Siphon, they've got Beacon to work with as well, so this is definitely a good start for them. There is potentially a fight. Elsewhere, you can see Optic Gaming and Tripods in Lava City very close to one another, and we're certainly sizing each other up with a few shots from across the way. This is only going to delay both teams. It's never fun when you have to drop this close to someone. I don't think either team had any sort of possibility to get a beacon either, so we'll see whether this fight actually unfolds or whether one team tries to back out of it.
I kind of like this as well. I think it's smart from Tripods. They were dropping over at Skyhook, but you've got Xset and 100 Thieves in the area, and this is something I was keeping my eye on when I was looking through the groups where people were dropping, etc. If Tripods decided that they wanted to try and take a few of the buildings in Skyhook alongside those two teams, it's not just the fact that there's 3 teams in Skyhook, it's also the fact that dropping over at Countdown is Furia. And Furia do not need to be asked twice if some fighting breaks out and they see some knocks on the map and they can hear that they're in the vicinity to get involved in that. So Optic obviously drop over at Bigmore, but they do like to take a bit of Lava City as well. And I think that Tripods making sure they have the height in Lava City, all dropping together and getting that loot is a much, much smarter decision from them.
Yeah, they both had a few pop shots toward one another, but I think they both basically realized there's no point in us having this fight. We don't gain anything from it. We're probably just going to make ourselves weaker if we were to try and engage. That being said, Dark Zero are making their way towards Lava City, may have heard a few of those shots, and may eventually run into Tripods. Actually, here we go. They are running into a Tripods, and it is a very weak Tripods. Look at their shields right now. They are not ready to fight.
Yeah, it's not looking great for shielding, and I don't think they've really managed to finish off their looting either, due to, like you say, the little couple of seconds that it took and the little engagement that happened between them and Optic Gaming. It looks like Dark Zero have actually backed away from this to now. They've gone through the vault tunnel, so Tripods will be safe, but very interesting start to this. And I gotta say as well, I'm kind of like a closet Tripods fan a little bit from, you know, what I heard Nick Merck saying. I mentioned in the last show, you know, how much he actually wants to make this LAN event. And it's still possible. It is a long way for them to go, but Matchpoint kind of gives them a chance here. And Nick Merck's in the sky alongside, of course, Deeds and Gent are going to be making their play now towards the Dome, trying to just get in behind that initial drop from Dark Zero. They should be able to hit the beacon on their way through as well. So Tripods, I'm not allowed to kind of be a fan of yours because of, you know, broadcasts and stuff, but I'm kind of fan of yours, all right?
I think everyone wants the underdog story. It's completely understandable. There's a few teams here today that we know would love to be able to make it. I mean, everyone would love to be able to make it, but some teams who have worked so hard in their career as Luminosity are eliminated and will be the first team to do so. Their rotation did not pay off, and they're caught out by MPS, a team that has found success here or there throughout the season. One thing I will say, lastly on Tripods, of course, that beacon information will be huge for them, but TSM have heard this commotion at Lava Siphon. TSM, who have dropped at Lava Siphon, maybe looking to pick up some KP.
Well, they're sending in as well. You can see the use of the ultimates. They've got the better armor advantage as well, and TSM, who land over at Lava Siphon, just want to get that first knock, that initial damage, and then they can pounce Wait for that utility to go down, and now the push does come in. Verholst, who was the kill leader last time we saw them. Pow Pow goes down, and TSM keep control here of Lava Siphon. This is their drop spot. This is their home, and they don't want to let this KP get away.
Well, TSM did start moving slightly north away from Lava Siphon, perhaps after getting beacon information, but then they were greeted very quickly by 3 or 4 teams, and they immediately backed down, went towards Lava Siphon, and it was something that you were highlighting on the last show. It's a different look of TSM when they see KP is there, when they see the potential for a little bit of a scrap early on. They will take it, and they are seeing the benefits of it as well, and maybe is one of the key reasons as to why they're finding success as of late.
Oh, we're seeing Tripods in a little bit of trouble here, as it will be Optic coming back after them. Nick Merckx will be the first down. Skittle Cakes with a beautiful spray coming in from that R301, and now he's using that black hole on the outside of the building to try and trap all of the remaining players from Tripods. Optic on the hunt here, and this would be a fantastic start for Optic fans. They need a bit of confidence, and they don't need to be asked twice. Jen's going to be there trying to do what he can. He might have got a couple of sticks, but it's not going to be enough. Tripods eliminated. Optic will win that battle that started over at Lava City.
And maybe Optic recognizing how weak Tripods were with their looting process. And again, Beacon is going to be massive here at the Dome. When you look at the circle and where actually all the playing spaces are right now, you've got such little information from this first circle. Pretty central in a way around the areas of Harvester and Lava Siphon. There are so many different areas this could pull from. So that second Beacon information is going to be huge for some of these teams. And when you see social media after tournaments, you see teams saying, well, if we had Beacon in game number X, we could have done this. Well, sometimes you've got to get yourself a beacon, and if it means taking on another team, you've got to be brave, and that's exactly what Optic have done there. Now they get beacon information, and they can start to think about how they want to force their way into the next circle.
It's funny that you say that, because I was just looking at it, I was like, NRG staging, did they get beacon? Yeah, they had beacon off the start. So Sweet's prayers have been answered from the interview when we last had him on. They start off with a fairly central zone and a beacon. So hey, funny how that happens, right? But Optic Gaming, we mentioned how they need to have the day of all days today. Well, an early fight victory is certainly going to boost the confidence, and now they will be able to get that beacon information. No one in the vicinity. You can see Duplex just making double, triple sure with that heartbeat sensor as well before he goes to hit it. And then they will be able to plan their next move accordingly. There's your crafting rotation as well. You can see the mobile res in there, PK Spitfire. But again, not huge kind of game-changing things like a Digi-Threat then.
And obviously, because they delayed it, they get Zone 3 information here, so they can get ahead of the rest of the pack that may not have been able to have any sort of zone info. Teams started to move towards Geyser a little bit, because I feel like that's where the circle's kind of heading. We might end up between Geyser and Lava Siphon, that kind of rocky area, and sometimes that hillside house is where we could finish and where certain teams seem to be trying to bank on. I did see in the kill feed as well, you were speaking of Sweet, he did get knocked at one point, and I don't know whether he was able to recover, but NRG certainly are taking a little bit of fire right now, and you definitely got to be careful.
Well, I mentioned HEC and how good they are at rotating to zone and finding a spot to play. I'm just really happy because Hill is on HEC, and I think that Hill is in the Hill house right now. So there you go. There's my terrible dad joke of the day out of the way. But Furia now, they're kind of holding down the choke, and they might be holding out Esports Arena, who are trying to move up on them now. And Pandas doesn't need to be asked twice. He's going to pop the ulti. He's now the beast of the hunt, and now he's trying to move in, get some scanning information for Furia to push.
It was Esports Arena who got the knock onto the NRG player, but it looks like Sweet is back up. It was a shot from distance, and as you said, Furia, I mean, they are a team who like to push up. They like to try and take their advantages when they're presented to them, and of course, they are slightly holding out ESA at the moment as well. So ESA might have to try and retreat from this one. Furia can go either way. They don't have to hold this angle. They could go back on themselves, and maybe both of these teams will just end up retreating.
Yeah, I can see here Furia not as aggressive as they normally would be, and I think that's just down to the armor situation. You're looking at Pandas, yeah, he's got gold, that's cool, but you're looking at the other two members of Furia, and they only have blue shields to play with, so I think they're just trying to maybe feel out the situation a little bit more, maybe just do a little bit of damage to force this team back, and BR Demon's now going to move up as well. So Furia still on the back foot, a couple of teams still in the vicinity, but nobody really getting the advantage in this battle at the moment.
No, actually, Esports Arena maybe came off better because they can hold the entire side of the North Circle, but Furia will probably have to take this fight with BR Demons, but Esports Arena still having a little look at it as the shreds do come through from Zeratriki in the end, and it will be the knock on Aiden the Destroyer. So Furia have the lead in this fight, but Esports Arena very, very close.
Looking at the kill feed as well, you can see TSM and G2 having a little bit of a scrap, and it's going to be Rex who gets that first knock. But back to what we see in front of us, great shots from Pandas coming in with that 30-30 repeater to break the shields as Furia look to finish this one off now. They can smell the blood in the water. And as I mentioned previously, one thing I am impressed about here with Furia is normally they don't have to be asked twice. BR Demons and G2 both eliminated, TSM taking G2 out. But
Damn.
Furia actually recognizing that there's a couple of teams in the vicinity, don't want to over push this, don't want to fully send it because they know they're going to have time to reset.
Furia and Esports Arena have another look at one another at the same time as the kind of melted BR Demons, and now they just shake hands, walk away and say, all right, we'll see you in the end game, because they are going to go for two entirely different rotations now. Furia are going to head through this choke point where NRG are kind of waiting, but no one's actually in the building where Furia are heading right now through that choke, which you can see on your map just in the top left. So they can comfortably take that unless anyone were to skyward dive ahead of them, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen for now.
Well, Rambo's in the kill feed for the guard. He's taking out Albrelele from FaZe, and I'm pretty sure that it's Optic who are looking to maybe third party this situation. For now, just trying to find a few targets. Optic will be safe, and look where we have pulled down. It looks like we're pulling all the way over to Geyser and Hillhouse now. So a big zone pull again. That zone 4 shift that we talk about so often is about to hurt some teams here.
And remember, Optic had that information because they got the zone 3 beacon. They were then able to make their way through Big Mord and decide how they wanted to post up. And they would have realized, hey, it's actually going to be free on this entire side of the map as long as Dark Zero aren't in the area, and they'd already seen them retreat. So they've been able to now take this kind of height over towards the Geyser area. Sure, it may still pull away from them, but they should comfortably get a top 10 from this position. It just depends what they want to commit to now. There are two decisions you can make. You can try and take one of these buildings off one of these guys. As you see in your kill feed, TSM just getting eliminated in game number 1. Never really were able to get into a confident spot after their drop.
And it's Xset who take them out. So number 1 and number 2 have a fight early on, and it's Xset, the number 2 team, who take out the number 1. So TSM got some KP, but not the placement to go alongside it. And Xset are the team that make them pay. Looking at the overhead at the moment, I can just tell you that a lot of teams are trying to make their way into Geyser at the moment. HEC still holding down that high ground, but here comes Season, not coming in from Klein, trying to finish off what he started. And at the moment, he's a one-man army, just wrecking some shields as the help now comes in. 100 Thieves eliminated.
100 Thieves tried to make a desperate skyward dive into Geyser, and they were punished immediately. Season were there waiting, and they just picked up the pieces. That was a gift from the gods when it comes to KP, as Optic are actually having a little fight over towards the Geyser area as well. They were able to take down one of the members of Complexity. So these teams who were posting up early at Geyser are reaping the benefits right now of everyone else who's trying to arrive a little bit late.
I think FaZe might have managed to get the respawn onto Albrelele as well. Just saw that one of them went right to the tip of Geyser to get that respawn beacon. And even though they might have taken a bit of damage to do so, always playing with a 3-man is much better than a 2, as we see Complexity get eliminated. And I'll tell you what, Klein is out for blood at the moment. He is just mowing people down.
Literally just walking through everything that arrives to Geyser right now. Our season, they are holding strong, but there's still plenty more to hold out, especially as, look at that zone pool. You can just see it on Xset's screen. It's going even further towards Geyser, and there is a lot of mountainside taking that circle as well. So there is not going to be much room to play on that southern side whatsoever. So these teams, they're going to have to either make a move early, or they're going to need to start thinking now about playing aggressive on edge, getting some KP, trying to secure some points, if they don't think this game is particularly winnable.
Well, Xset have some decisions to make. They've only got a few seconds till that zone starts to close. So let's jump into the comms. Let's go to a listen-in presented by WD Black.
How long? What?
These guys have whites in here, bro. Yeah, they're white blue.
We can't push them. We can't push them. We cannot push them.
It might be the only.
Look at this, Brandon. Look at this. Brandon, look at this. See if people are here.
Come on.
I'm smoking it. We move left and you just walk
right here.
over it.
Right here.
Okay, we push him. We push him. Then.
He's going back.
Push him.
He's gonna peek right here. He popped dog. I'm on his side.
40. I just arc-started myself. I can't push.
Careful. There's a whole team behind them shooting them. They keep behind them.
Go low ground, Brandon. Go low ground.
Okay.
That's all I'm dead.
I think there's someone to our south. Low ground.
Okay, I'm healing.
Yeah, they are. I'm gonna scan.
Okay. Yep.
They might be resing that. It might be them.
Oh!
I'm gonna go.
I'm marking that.